Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to our inaugural online session of raising connected, happy, successful kids through art in challenging times. We are so grateful for you to be sharing your time with us in this way. This program is being presented by UCLArts Healing as part of our free Hope, Healing Online for People Everywhere series, which was created to enable our global community to build resilience through the arts during this unprecedented time. To learn more about the 20+ sessions offered in this series over the next few months, head to our website after this workshop. Without further ado, I will hand it over to our presenters today, authors of the 2019 National Parenting Products Award-winning book, The Innovative Parent, Erica Curtis and Ping Ho.
So in part 3, we're going to be talking about how to use art to understand needs. And we just touched on that a little bit, and that Ping demonstrated by identifying feelings and thoughts. We can then move into also understanding our needs. And also how we can use art to develop helping thoughts. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that now. So another friend of mine, whose son was really struggling in school. We were chatting and I gave her the similar technique, and this is her whiteboard actually in her kitchen at home. And her son was ripping up little pieces of paper and getting out of his seat and wandering around a lot at school and was really struggling. And so he would come home and, so he would, and you can answer along if you want to at home, she would say, how was school? And he would say, you can probably guess, fine, right? And then she would say, did you learn anything? And he would say, yep, you got it. No. Right. And that was it. So this time I suggested that she might want to try something differently, that when she said, how was school? And he said, fine, that she invite him to simply show me what fine looks like. Okay. So on the top here, we see a character with eyebrows that are tilted inwards. And it is saying grr, and he wrote the word mad, okay? So this is kind of what it looked like. How was school? Fine. I wonder what that looks like. Mad, okay, grr. So already she's getting a lot more information about her son's experience, and he's probably getting a lot more information about himself as well. So then what she did was she said, how would you prefer it to be? Okay, so this is a little bit of a different question, but it still gets to needs. So instead of what does he need, she said, how would you prefer it to be at school? Okay. And so he drew this bottom picture. Now this is a really interesting picture because something unique is happening on the face. And a lot of times when we do this workshop with a public in-person audience, people will automatically say, he's crying. Right? We see these lines coming down and our brains just want to make meaning about it. Our brains want to interpret what's going on and say he's crying. So a little bit later on in this workshop, we're going to talk more about how to talk to kids about their art to really maximize their ability to share insights into their own art rather than us making assumptions about what we're seeing. And that's very important because when we make assumptions, if, for example, a spoiler alert, by the way, he's not crying, okay? So I'll tell you in a moment what those lines actually are. But if we were to have responded to this drawing with, oh, he's crying, he's sad, then either he might have felt misunderstood or he might have gone along with something that wasn't actually true to his experience, okay? So instead, what we might say is, I noticed two lines coming down from his eyes. We're simply observing exactly what we are objectively seeing, right? And you can see there's a word bubble here. When she had prompted him or asked him, I wonder if he's saying anything, he drew the word bubble and it says, I can learn, and he is happy. And then he also added down below an arrow in case you didn't know that line down there is my paper, okay? So when we notice these two lines, I wonder what these two lines are. Tell me about those. He says, oh, those are my laser attention. My laser beam attention beams, right? My attention beams. And so the mother talked to him a little bit about his need, which was to have laser attention, right? And it turned out that he was having a hard time paying attention in class. And so from this drawing, they were able to start having a fuller dialogue about what was really getting in the way of his learning. He was able to get assessed, and it turned out that he was indeed diagnosed with ADHD. And he was able to start getting the supports that he needed in his classroom and at school. So there's lots of ways that we can identify needs. And one of those ways also is to identify helpful parts or helpful characters that can reassure us. That's actually sort of a basic human need that we have. And as we are growing, we start to learn how to have positive self-talk. We also have a lot of negative self-talk. And so this is something that can be taught. It's something that can be cultivated. And one of the ways we can do that is through art. Okay, so when we have a struggle, if we have a test, for example, and I'll share this picture with you in just a moment on the left of the screen here, this math test, where we're having some feeling about it, maybe one of the needs is simply just to have a belief that will help us get through it. All right. So this picture here on the left, this was actually an exam that my son brought home. His teacher, I guess that was last year, wasn't it? That's when the book came out. So his teacher had found out that Ping and I had written this book to share sort of the best practices in art therapy and make it applicable to home settings and school settings and whatnot. And so she started emailing me requesting some suggestions for her classroom. And the standardized state testing was coming up, and there was a lot of anxiety around tests in the classroom. And so I suggested that she might, of course, not during state testing because you can't have stickies and things, but during other tests, that if she would like to, she could invite the children to draw a little helping character that might say something reassuring, right? Something to help to lessen their nerves a little bit. Now, what's important to know is that we're not asking kids to say things that they don't believe. And this is really important because sometimes we want to go, full force, like, I'm the best. Just say, I'm the best, or I'm going to rock this, or I'm going to kill it, or I'm going to, I can do anything. And a lot of times people don't actually believe that. And so it ends up being more harmful than helpful to encourage children to say things to themselves that they really don't believe. And so we can give lots of different examples and children can pick their own. We can say something like, just one at a time, for example, or take your time, or you've studied, or it's okay, you can do it, or just try your best. So those are lots of examples of different types of helping phrases that can be used, right? So on the left there, that's a picture of a little character that my son drew before a test, and it says, you can do it, and his test came home with that. And on the other side here, we have a superhero. We can also take characters that kids are already engaged with and really involved with in terms of shows that they watch or cartoons or comic books that they read, or in their play if they act out certain characters or superheroes, that we can sort of channel the strengths of those superheroes or those characters or whoever it might be and ask the child, well, what would that character say? Right, for example. So here we have Superman. Or Spider-Man. Oh, I gotta brush up on my superheroes here. Here we have Spider-Man. What would Spider-Man say to you in this situation, right? It's kind of easier, it's a lot easier, I'd say, when we can separate ourselves from it, right? We can give advice to friends much easier than we can give advice to ourselves. So when we have another character to channel those positive thoughts or those reassuring thoughts through, sometimes they're much easier to come up with for a child and to connect with. They can also sort of imagine what it would be like if Spider-Man was with them. I had one client who really liked Kim Possible, and she was having some bullying issues at school. And so she sort of took on those feelings of what it would be like to be Kim Possible, and she would draw pictures of Kim Possible and what would Kim Possible say. And by rehearsing it through the artwork and through this character that she was very connected to, she was able to start finding some language to stand up for herself. All right. So I think that, one thing that we could do right now, Ping, is going back to this character, because I'd like to show everybody how we can loop some of these back in, right?
Sure.
So in terms of helping parts, I'm wondering if this character, we already identified one need, that it needs a good night's sleep. Now, I happen to know that you have just launched. I mean, we are currently in this moment launching this new Hope series, right? And so, and how many are going to be in this series, Ping?
I don't know about the series as a whole, but I think a couple hundred people had signed up for today.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But in terms of all the workshops coming, there's at least 40 workshops,
20,
right?
I think 20 workshops.
20
so
workshops. Yeah, yeah. So after your good night's sleep, you're going to have 20 more workshops over the next month or two that you're going to be rolling out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm wondering if this character here that we've been working with, if there was anything, if it could have like a little helping character to kind of bring with it over the next month or so, when maybe it's not getting those good night sleeps. And I'm wondering what that character might look like, or, it could be a shape, it could be a triangle, it could be another emoji.
I picture it as a warm, fuzzy ball.
A warm, fuzzy ball.
Those little cousin it things,
A cousin it warm, fuzzy ball. Yeah. Okay, so if it's all right with you, I'm going to go ahead and draw that, just since I'm not with you. And it's like doing a, what do you call it when you are trying to sketch based off in the police, right? When they're doing a composite sketch.
A composite sketch.
So Ping's going to describe this warm, fuzzy cousin it.
Oh, boy.
Well, and I'm going to do a composite. Does it have feet?
It does have feet. It has two little flat feet.
Little flat feet.
Little flat
and
feet.
Does it have eyes?
It does have eyes.
Okay. And can you show me what kind of eyes, just using your own eyes?
Oh, little round eyes.
Little round eyes. Okay.
Round eyes, yeah.
And does it have, oh goodness, that's interesting. The eyes look kind of sleepy to me, actually. Okay. And does it have a face? Does it have any kind of expression?
Oh, it's definitely smiling.
It's smiling. Okay. How's that for a composite?
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
Okay. So what is this little helpful guy or helpful gal or helpful it? What is it going to be saying? If it could say something reassuring to you over the next month or so as you're launching the next 20 plus Hope workshops.
It's going to say, go to bed now and just get up early.
Okay. So it's going to remind you of what you need. Yeah? Go to bed now and get up early. I'm going to have to scan this and email it to Ping so she could post it in her office and remember these things. All right. So there's your little helping thought.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's your little helping thought. Now, one thing I wanted to point out before we move on, because I think that this is a really important point. You might have noticed as we were talking about these characters, I quickly stopped talking about Ping and I started talking about these characters. And that helps with the distancing. That helps with objectifying and externalizing, that now it's not so personal. So it's much easier to talk about this character and what this character is saying and thinking and needing than if I were to keep saying, okay, so now what are you thinking and what are you saying and what are you needing, right? So instead we're talking about the characters and what is this helpful character saying? What was this helpful character like to do to help you as you move along, right? And so that distance really allows us to get a different type of perspective and allows us to really project onto it, sometimes without even realizing it.